Hi and welcome to the first class of Appium. In this class, we'll be discussing about the basics of Appium. What are the various tools that are present in your mobile applications, and what all we can test with Appium. Finally, why we need Appium. There are n number of tools present in the market. You may say that we have Android, we have Appium, we have iOS driver, we have Calabash. Then why only Appium? Because right now, suppose if you are pitching your solution to the client and you'll be saying that, okay, we'll be automating your whole of your solution into Appium, then you need to have some solid data points in order to just convince him that why only Appium. Because if I am a client, my concern would be why Appium? Why not any another tool? So today we'll be discussing about that why only Appium? What is the main advantage of Appium over its other rival tools? Fine. So if I come back, let me annotate it. So, like suppose this is my Android, this is your Appium. These are the competitive tools, and the first one is suppose Appium. The second one is Android. The third one is iOS driver. The fourth one is Calabash. Then we have Espresso. After Espresso, we have Robotium. Okay. Then there is XCUI test. So these are the various tools that are present in the market. First of all, we'll talk about Appium, Android, and then we'll quickly jump to other tools also. Okay. Now, why this Appium? If you are using this Appium, you could automate your iOS as well as your Android apps. You can automate both the apps. In case of Android, you can only use your Android. So like suppose if you have an app that is made in iPhone and Android, and if you're using Android, then for iPhone you have to choose a different or another party or third party tool to automate it. Similarly, as the very name suggests, iOS driver. This is only used for your iOS apps. You cannot automate your Android. But in case of Calabash, you could automate your both apps like we can do in Appium. Similarly, this Espresso is actually not your mobile automation tool. This is the tool mainly used by the Android developers that is more or more, it is only used to test the UI. In the sense, like suppose you're in case of your APM, because normally when we automate an app, what we do is we just pick the extended file of that specific device and we automate it. But for your Espresso, you need whole code until unless you have your code, because it is Espresso is more and more linked with your code coverage, that how much code have you covered with the unit test casing and all that stuff. It is linked to the unit testing only. So that is why as a mobile uh, test engineers we cannot use this Espresso. Same is the case with Robotium, and XUI test is used in case of your iPhone and you need your iPhone code for that. Normally when we test the apps, okay, because if you talk of this Espresso, for Espresso you need a code. Okay, like suppose you want to automate WhatsApp. Now you cannot go to uh, Facebook and ask them, okay, please give me your WhatsApp code. I want to automate it. Normally we don't do this. Okay, and they will not give us the code also. So what we did is there is a second option, like we can directly have the executable file and then we can automate it. So now, like I was talking of some executable file. So your Appium works with no APK mode. Now, what is this APK? There's a term called APK. Then there is a term called EXE. Then there is a term called DMG. Then IPA. Then APP. Okay, Usha, have you heard about this term EXE?
Yeah, executable files.
Yeah. So in case of your Windows, when you want to install any software, okay, we might see that there is a term .exe. When we double click it, that software gets installed in my Windows machine, right? Similarly, for your Mac, the extension is DMG. Until and unless your software is having extension .dmg, you cannot install that software into your Mac. Similarly, for your Android phones, until and unless your software is having extension .apk, you cannot install that software into your Android phone. Once you install it, you call them as a apps, like your WhatsApp. WhatsApp, every app that is placed on Google Play Store, okay, that are having the extension .apk. So when you click over them, when you click over install button, that's why your Android operating system comes to know that okay, this is the Android app. The only difference is the extension. Similarly, for your iPhone, it has to be with extension .ipa or .app. These are just the extension that are used for your mobile, not the mobile specific, for your platform specific. Like if you go to any third party and you want to install for Windows, you will directly choose .exe only. You won't choose .dmg because .dmg is for your Mac. Similarly, for your Android phones, you will choose .apk, and for your iPhone, it would be IPA or APP. We'll be discussing in detail about all this stuff. This I'm just giving you an overview. So your APM says that whether you have the APK of that specific file, like whether I have a APK of WhatsApp or not, in both the cases I can automate it. Means without APK also I can automate the WhatsApp. How we can automate it, that we'll be discussing in the next lecture. Usha, please go on mute because I'm able to hear my voice again and again. After that, in case of cell Android, you need APK. iOS driver, this is just for the iPhone. So if I say that, no, this is no more in the picture because this is just a specific. Similarly, if I talk about your Calabash, Calabash also don't need APK. Now, if I talk of the languages, this supports your multi-language support. Multi-language means here you could use Java, you could use Python, okay, you could use Ruby, you could use any language to automate your Appium. Similarly, this also gives you multi-language support. And if you talk of your Calabash, it works only with Ruby using BDD. Now, what is this BDD? It means that behavior driven, it means that it is behavior driven development. It uses Cucumber and all that stuff, and using that Cucumber is bit cumbersome. So that is why this Calabash is not used by far more developers. This was the only reason of failure of your Calabash. That Calabash is not, and Appium was having the advantage that it was open to all languages, and only due to that advantage, Appium was used more worldwide than case of your Calabash. Okay. Now you might have heard about GitHub. GitHub, right? GitHub is that tool where you place your code. Every year, GitHub used to launch their ratings of different automation tools and normal tools. So after this, we'll be also talking about the GitHub ranking of these tools. Okay, what is the actual ranking? Because if I'm convincing my client that okay, I'm working over APM and I'm not using the other tools. w- These are the data point that I'm trying to explain you. But as an end client or as an end user, as a company, I need some valid data points. Okay, these are just theoretical because I want some specific links or specific website where it is mentioned that okay, yes, the APM is the best one. So we'll be also talking about that. But before that, look, this is out of picture iOS driver. Your Calabash is out of picture. Okay, we won't be using your Calabash also. Your Espresso is out of picture. Your Votium is out of picture. XCUI test is out of picture. Even your Android is out of picture because it only works with Android, but it not works with iPhone. But okay, I'll assume that we are only working with Android. Let's take it that we are working with Android. Now I want to compare Appium and Android. Look, mostly people ask this question in normal interviews also. This question is pretty asked. And many people have come to me and asking this question that which tool should we learn? Whether we should learn Appium or we should learn Android. Okay. So now I'll be answering this question that which tool? Okay. Because this question is wrong. It has to be when to use Android and when to use Appium instead of which tool to use. Now I'll explain the difference between both. Come back here.
Just a quick question. This
Yes.
Rubitum, you
Your,
mentioned, right?
your voice is very low. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay. But Rubitum, you have asked, you've mentioned, right? So when is
Hmm.
that used?
Robotium was earlier used as a counterpart of your Expresso only, but right now that Robotium is pretty replaced by your Expresso because Google has itself introduced a concept of Expresso to just to automate the UI. And how this Expresso behaves is what they do is they don't call the real APIs. They'll mock the response. You have to keep the mock response in your code, and then it will call the mock response. But what in case of Appium we does is we'll be calling the real APIs, the real response, so that we could test end to end. Look, Appium is only used for end-to-end testing. If you want to test end-to-end flows, like your UI flows, okay, and your web services, then your Appium is pretty used. And moreover, for this Espresso, XCUI test and Robotium, these are done by your developers, not the test engineers. Normally, this is the interview question that mostly people ask that, okay, as a test engineer, can I use can I use Espresso or XUI test? The answer is no. As a test engineer, I cannot use it because I don't have the code. Normally, no one will give us the code to test it because if they will give us the code, then we can also launch the same app. Like if you have the code of WhatsApp, tomorrow you can also launch a new WhatsApp. You getting my point?
Yes.
So like there are different versions of your Android phones, like 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, 8x, and 9x. Now, what is this X? Like, suppose there was seventh version. Like, whenever Android launches any, you may say, new operating system, it launched with the name of Candy. That we know. So normally people say that okay, I have seventh version, I have Nougat in my phone, I have sixth version that was Marshmallow. So here X means 7.1, 7.1.1, 7.1.2 because in 7 also your Android has variations. Similarly for your 8 and soon the ninth version would be launched. Normally, we, as a layman, we talk in these terms. Okay, I have fifth version, I have sixth, I have eighth version of Android. My phone is being updated with the eighth Android 8. Normally, we say when we buy also our phone, even the shopkeeper let us know that okay, ma'am or sir, this phone would be having your Android 8 or Android 9. Like by this, you to say in this term. But your developers never talk in terms of your versions because this is your version. They talk in terms of your API levels. It's 11, 12, 16, 17, 28. I missed the numbers in between. These are the API levels. So starting from 11 till 16 and this is your Android and this is your Appium. So from 11 to 16, it's your Android, and 17 to 28, and so on, it's your Appium. So if you want to use your Android, your API level or your version of your phone has to be till 4, 4.4.4 means the best is 4.1. Below the 4.1 devices, you can use your Android, and above the 4.2 two devices 4.2 plus, you have to use your Appium. This means that your Appium can be used if you are targeting your API level more than 17, your phone is bigger than 4.4.4. The another thing is Google is going to obsolete the devices that are below 4.2. Means in next year, in most probably in April 2019, your Android is going to be getting obsolete because Google won't be giving the support to the low end phones, because these phone has a very low market share. Okay, because if you see nowadays there are apps or games that are pretty heavy, so they need heavy processor, they cannot work on those small phones. So that is why they have changed the concept and they're going to obsolete it. So now the question to the answer, when to use Android and when to use Appium. So you have got the answer. If your client want to target a API level or phone above 5.0, then Appium is the option. And if he wants to go the phone below that, then Android is the option. But on the other hand, there are only 3.5% mobiles that are below or that falls under the Android categories in the whole world. Maximum phones fall under your Appium category. This is also the advantages effect of your Appium over Android. Now I was talking about some terminology that I was saying that some automation GitHub ranking. Okay, I'll ping you a site. Please open this website. I've shared a link. Now, even if you come to this website, you could see that these are the different ranking like Selenium, Appium, Espresso, XCUA test, and Calabash. If you'll see that your Selenium just have 787 stars, but your Appium has two triple four stars. Espresso is NA. It's not eligible also. Okay, why it's not why it's NA? The only reason for NA is that because it is only platform specific. It won't work over both apps. Similarly, your XCUA test because it's only for the Apple, like Express is for the Android, so it also fall under NA category. And after that, your Calabash is having 1930 stars. So if I was talking about the data points, your Espresso is the your Appium is the winner with two triple four stars. This is the official ranking that is given by your GitHub. Okay. So now after this, like this were the basics like your APM and all that stuff. Now if I move a step ahead, like there is one more advantage of APM that it is pretty used. The main advantage you can say that is like this is your main computer, suppose example. Sorry. And these are your three mobile phones. One, two, and three. Now what APM does is APM works in grid. Grid means that on a single computer, I can attach three different mobile devices and I can run a code at a same instance of time. So three different devices could be targeted at the same instance of time. Look, normally what we do is I run my code on a single device, then I'll run my code on second device, and then I'll run my code on third device. It's a normal procedure. But the beauty of APM is that I could run all that combined code at the same instance of time on three different devices. Then I could go and have a cup of tea. When I'll come back, I'll be getting a test report for three different phones. This is the property of grid. Look, this is just you may say the beginners class. So I'm just giving you the overview. What is this APM all about? Okay, I'm not going in depth like I talked about APK, I talked about IPA, but I won't be going in depth in this. Gradually, when we'll be increased, we'll be going towards forward. We'll be learning the basics of code. Then we'll be switching to that. Fine. This is just an overview class. So after that, like if I come back, just a small thing. Like there is a terminology in APM called JSON wire protocol. So what does this word JSON wire protocol means? So Look, when you talk of Selenium, in Selenium you have a term called WebDriver. Okay, until and unless you have your web drivers with you, you cannot work. So there is Appium, or you may say Android. This is a generic one, or you have iOS driver. Okay, there could be any medium that you are using, and this is your mobile app. So your WebDriver will interact with your Appium, and your Appium would interact with your mobile app. So your WebDriver will interact with your Appium with the help of WebDriver command, and your Appium will interact with your mobile phone with the help of Android command. Look, if it's an Android phone, it would be Android command. If it's an iPhone, it's iOS command. Right. So whole of this process, like interaction of this, is called as JSON wire protocol. This means that Appium would be making a JSON that would be injecting in your phone so that it could test a specific app. So this is the main functionality of using, this is the main, you may say, inner of how your Appium works, basically. So now if I come back, now what is this JSON wire protocol and why we are talking about this JSON wire protocol at this instance of time? Look, in most of the interviews, when you appear for any interviews, people generally ask you this question, that what is this JSON wire protocol and how you use it. So JSON wire protocol is just the JSON that is being dumped by your Appium, Android, iOS driver. You take any tool, all the tool does the same job only. They'll inject that into your mobile app. Okay, because look, until and unless I inject some properties into my mobile, okay, I cannot access my mobile from a desktop. So they inject the data into your mobile app to access the applications. So that process is called as your JSON wire protocol. Okay. So first of all, any doubt in this? Any doubt, any concern, anything that is not clear till the time we have covered?
No, everything is clear now.
Okay. So now, like if I'm talking about this Appium, I have this Appium, I have my mobile app, and I want to automate it. So we have different tools. Okay, because look, down the line, Appium has to interact with my mobile app. Now, how this interaction would be? We know that there is something called JSON wire protocol. Okay, it uses that, it injects the JSON wire. It injects your JSON through a wire into your mobile app, and then your data and then your stuff works. But what is that wire here? I'm talking of a term wire. What is this wire? So that so this wire is called as UI Automator. Now, what is this UI Automator? Because look, down the line, if you are aware of your XPath and all that stuff, okay, because your whole of your automation works over your XPath, your IDs, your CSS selectors, it works around this. So in order to retrieve your XPath, in order to retrieve your IDs, okay, we need a tool that could give us the same, because there would be a screen, okay, where, like suppose this is any app, I want to get the XPath of this Appium so that I could click over this button. So in order to get a XPath, because how would I get a XPath of this Appium button? I myself don't know the XPath. So we'll be using a third party tool that is known as UI Automator, which is being designed by Google. And similarly, like for your iPhone, we'll be using UI automation, and that is pretty designed by your Apple. These are the native tools that are being designed by your Apple and Google to test the respective apps. Like for iPhone, we'll be using the Apple's one, and for Android, we'll be using the Google one. Because look, down the line, the app is pretty made by Google. The framework is being ready by Google. I'm talking of the Android. So Google is in a better picture to give us the XPath and all that. So similarly, it applies to the case of your iPhone also. So we'll be discussing about this UI automator and all that stuff in the next classes also. I come back to my present. Actually, you have joined from two systems, so your voice is there is a lot of echo. What you can do is you can make your one system as a mute, and then you can talk from another system.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
now it's clear.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clear and crisp.
Okay.
So now if I come back, like this is only what I have mentioned in my presentation also. Like will be only talking about this stuff. So mainly what we have done is we have just give me a second. So we have covered all these aspects like Appium, what we'll be testing it, what is the protocol. So tomorrow what we'll be doing is we'll be you may say that we'll be going with the installation stuff. But before going to the installation ground, we need to ensure that we should have normally more than 2 GB of your RAM. 4 is good, but if you have 8, 8 would be you may say preferable because then your apps won't be slow. I'm not saying that with the 4 GB of RAM your system will not work, but it would be bit slow. So from for next 2 days we'll be only moving with the you may say installation stuff. So thanks.